Right, hello.
Hi. Hello, Mr. Piow.
Yes,
This
we
is the first time I'm looking at this book, and you look really different from what is on this book, from your real life, as well as what I see from the government's media.
a bit younger than you when I
Okay.
was president of the University of Singapore Students' Union. When the government took action against me, it brought me to court and so on.
This is the first time I'm looking at this book. We don't have this book in Singapore. And it's called Frame Up. Why do you call this book Frame Up?
Well, it's called Frame Up because that was back in 1974 when I was president of the University of Singapore Students' Union. It was called Frame Up because I was then charged with causing a riot in the premises of the trade union. The boss then was Piow and of course a PAP MP. The riot did not happen. It was fabricated by the trade union boss, and the judge Sinature went along with it. That's why the subtitle of this book is called A Singapore Court on Trial.
Over here there's a photo called Justice. Is justice being framed up, or what is being framed up?
And the call for justice was that such frame-up should not have happened at all.
There are a lot of photographs over here and a lot of people. How many people were involved, and who is the main person being framed up?
Okay, I was the main person at the time being framed up because before the event we were extremely active as a student union. Our slogan then was to create a more democratic Singapore, and we were assisting workers. Two of the workers who were framed up and charged together with me were Tan Kim Hong and Ng Hua Ling. They were workers from American Marine at the time, and the number of people involved were not just the three of us. It was a crackdown on workers as well as the student movement in Singapore. In fact, on the day when the trial started, a number of my very close colleagues at the student union were deported.
So who is the person who wants to frame you up?
Well, the one person who wanted to frame me up was Piow. Piow was not long ago convicted in Singapore for stealing money from the trade union. He was the man at that time that we accused of breaking the law by allowing factories to pay the workers using trade union vouchers. These were photographs taken not of the day but a week before the frame up, when there was a public meeting outside the premises of the trade union, and it was at that meeting that the students were present. I was present. We were confronting Piow about his practice, the illegal practice of getting factories to pay workers with supermarket vouchers. We told him that it was illegal. Piow at that meeting named me. That Mr. Tan, he said he would fix me up. We had that meeting tape recorded. We presented the tape to the judge to say that that was the proof of the start of the motive to want to frame me up. The judge, of course, did not allow those tapes to be taken. And for that frame up to be successful, it must have gone right to the very top. That was the very word of Devan Nair after he went into exile. And of course, it would have gone right to the top because the judge, the prosecution, the police, all should know that it was a frame up. The special branch file should know that it was a frame up. because that trial went on for 47 working days, and you have the whole campus, 4,000 people rallied in support of me and the workers. Why would 4,000 students be protesting? Even the daughter of the Solicitor General at that time, Shahab Gauss, was complaining that why was my daughter even criticizing me for prosecuting Piow? Those were the words he said to G. Raman.
Okay.
And G. Raman was one of the defense lawyers for the workers.
And over here you have photos of different places. Is this where it happened?
Yes, these were the pictures of glasses that's supposed to have been broken inside the premises of the trade union. But the person who did this breaking was a guy by the name of Lawrence Quack, who later on continued to be the trade union assistant boss. He was the right-hand man of Piow. In fact, during the period of the trial, a Singapore journalist went to court to tell the judge that at the time when there was all this commotion inside the premises, he was then working for the Straits Times, and he saw me across the road of the trade union building. He told Judge Sinature that Tan Wah Piow was not there, was not inside the building when the riot was supposed to be happening. The judge looked at him. I don't believe you. You came to court to lie, but I do not know why, but you lied. And that was the way the trial was handled, and that was why an Australian Queen's Counsel wrote in his report and was widely publicized that it was a kangaroo court. And Amnesty International at that time also made a statement noting that this was the first time that a political trial went before a criminal court. Again, you see this photograph of these two ladies. Those are the two ladies who were brave enough to come to court. These are ordinary people who came to court to say that we witnessed the trade union staff themselves smashing up their own office. And these two ladies who had nothing to do with us or with those workers who were protesting, they came to court to be my witness, telling Judge Sinature that we happened to be inside, we saw what happened, we saw trade union staff breaking up their own furniture. It was a big commotion. They ran out. When they left the union premises, photographs were taken of them. And what happened to those photographs? The judge says, I don't believe that those photographs were real. They must be fake. And we had even the roll of films which were then presented to court in sequence. The judge did not allow those to be admitted as exhibits. And that's why it was a kangaroo court. And that's why I put as the subtitle, it was a Singapore court on trial.
It was like very messy, so there were no people here. Then how did they prove that it was you? How did they succeed in this frame up?
They got the trade union people who came to court to tell lies. In fact, we have two very brave workers who came forward to court to explain to the judge that they were trained to come to court to give false evidence, but instead of doing it, they became our witnesses.
And you mentioned that student unions, as well as the labor, the workers, journalists, ordinary people were willing to stand up, and they know about this. So why is it that nowadays people do not know about this, and Why is it that student union don't talk about this matter?
Why is it that people of your generation have not heard of the framework? That is something that you must ask your local MP. And this is something that you should also ask the Attorney General. Because when Piow Kok was convicted, I wrote to him quite immediately to say that it's time to clear up this obnoxious framework. And until this day, the government and the Attorney General has no guts to come to clear one of the darkest spots in the Singapore criminal justice system. But one day, hopefully, if not this January elections, but certainly at some point of time, as in Malaysia, I'm quite sure that my name would be clear and my cause could be vindicated.
So you were not a politician at all?
I was not a politician then. I was president of the University of Singapore Students' Union, and even to this day, I am not a politician, but I would describe myself as a political activist who started a movement for democracy in Singapore together with many of my colleagues, where we share the common aspiration for a democratic system. And we do not, at that time, that was 4 decades ago, view Singapore as a democratic society. 40 years later, or 45 years later, my view is still that it is not just not a democratic society, things are getting worse. And my concern is that with the current development of artificial intelligence and so on, Singapore has reached a stage where unless the people make a stand about their sovereignty as people, you would have the government, with the aid of artificial intelligence, convert every individual into digits which they could manipulate. The only point is that who is going to be the master of this technology? You are doing.
So for the future generation, how can we encourage people to stand up, speak up, but prevent such a frame-up?
Well, get organized. Unless you get organized as a community, as a political community, you will not be able to challenge the ruling party. Because the ruling party of Singapore, unlike other places in the Western world or even in Southeast Asia, it is a huge juggernaut that has captured the state and spending at least 1 billion Singapore dollars of taxpayers' money through People's Association. And as I have said recently, the biggest political struggle eventually has to be the struggle for the control of People's Association, and it is a structure that needs to be democratized
soon. And I don't think I will be able to bring this book to UK. I'm sure a lot of people will be interested in reading this and knowing, as well as having more questions after watching all these videos. Will they be able to contact you and ask any question that they want?
Well, my Facebook is a public Facebook.
And if you have any question, you can just leave it in the comments below. Or if you have any question, you can also contact him directly on his Facebook, as he has mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye. What? Sorry?
We should have an introduction for something.
Oh yeah, you can do the introduction. Hello, Hui Hui. I'm pleased to have a conversation with you.
Okay.